Right now, there is a hugely competitive market for wireless microphone kits. Brands like Rode, Saramonic, Joby and Movo all have released their own kits, and a quick scroll down Amazon will show you just how many brands are making these. Well, in this video, I'm taking a look at a wireless microphone kit from the company Boya. This is the XM6-S2 kit. And this features two wireless transmitters so you can film with two people, and it retails for £161.50 on Amazon, making this a lot more affordable than other kits from brands like Rode, for example. Each transmitter has a built-in omnidirectional microphone, and I'm using it right now. You also get two wind muffs to block out harsh wind, and two omnidirectional Lav mics if you prefer to use those. All of the units have OLED screens so you can see the settings that you have on. They're all rechargeable via USB-C, and you have these little clips that you can use to attach the microphones to your clothing or to the top of your camera. And you also get this nice carry case as well, something that not all of these kits include. And the receiver has a feature that I think all of these wireless kits should have, and that is a headphone out port, so you can actually monitor the audio live. And to me, this is essential because I can never fully trust the audio levels that I see on my camera. Like most other kits, you get a 3.5mm TRS cable and a 3.5mm TRRS cable, so you can use this kit with either your phone or your camera. Now, one feature that might set this kit apart from others out there is the adaptive frequency hopping technology. Essentially, if you're on a busy channel with a lot of interference, this kit will put you onto a different channel with less interference for a better signal and improved audio quality. Battery life is always a bit of a concern when it comes to products like this, anything that's wireless and rechargeable, but you do get 7 hours on the transmitter and 6.5 hours on the receiver. Although really you just get 6.5 hours because the transmitters won't work on their own. Now, one slight downside of this kit is that all of the transmitters and the receiver are fairly large. With other kits, sometimes the receiver's a little bit bigger and the transmitters are smaller, so they're less intrusive on your clothing. But as you can see, the transmitter is quite big and you do have that large OLED screen as well. What you can do though is turn the unit around entirely so all you can see is the clip and then the microphone is actually underneath your clothes, but it is still quite big and cumbersome and you can definitely feel it on your neck as well. And although the OLED screens on this kit are useful, there's definitely a pretty big issue and I'll be covering that later on. Luckily, if you do want more of a discreet option, you can just use the included Lav mics instead of the transmitter microphone. So you've probably noticed at this point that I have the microphone around my neck and I'm using the built-in microphone on the transmitter. This is an omnidirectional microphone and from what I can tell and what I've heard, this sounds pretty good. I've applied absolutely no audio effects to this. This is the raw audio straight from the microphone to my camera, and I have my audio levels on my A7 III set to about 5. So this is how the microphone sounds if I do add effects to it. So these are the typical effects that I add for all of my videos, regardless of what microphone I use. I'm not going to go through all of the effects. Instead, I'll just add them in the description so you can replicate them if you think this sounds good. But this tends to make the audio sound a little bit more full. At least I think it sounds good for my voice. You might not like it. You may have preferred the audio before, but to my ears, this sounds pretty good. But for those of you who don't feel like adding effects, maybe you just want to record quick content, I think these microphones will be more than good enough without having to play around in editing. Before I get into the pros and cons of this kit, let's hear the outdoor tests. Okay, so I'm out here testing the microphone on the transmitter. I haven't put on the wind muff yet, and there's a lot of wind today, so I'm interested to hear how this sounds. So I'm gonna start walking back now and seeing how far this picks up my audio. Tyler behind the camera is gonna give me like a gesture if it cuts out, and we'll see how far this can pick up. It's worth mentioning as well that this is a line of sight thing. If I turn around, let's see if it still picks up my audio. So I'm gonna turn around now. So yeah, with a lot of these microphones, if you turn around and you kind of break that line of sight between the transmitter and the receiver, the audio tends to cut out. It's one of the reasons I wouldn't really rely on a set like this for, you know, anything important like weddings or coverage at an event or something like that, because they do tend to cut out if people move around too much. Okay, still going back. How are we doing for sound? All right, so still walking up okay? Cut out. So this microphone is supposed to be able to support up to 100 meters of distance, which is probably more than anybody will ever use. As I was saying, you know, if you're filming someone at that distance, I mean, I have no idea what you're filming, but I think for sort of 50 meters and under, that's still really far anyway. this is going to be more than enough. So for that walking test, I was using the microphone without the wind muff on the top. And from what I can imagine, there was a lot of wind being picked up. It's a super windy day today, but I have the wind muff on now and it should make a significant difference. At least from my tests before we actually started recording any of this, it sounded much better. So this should give you an idea of how it sounds with the wind muff on. So how does this sound with the wind muff on then? The wind is coming sort of from this direction. So if I stand here, there should be quite a lot of wind maybe. Or is it doing a good job? Yeah, it's doing a pretty good job. So that's great. I mean, if you're out in a windy environment, that's usually the one thing that ruins audio straight away is the wind noise. And it's really windy. I mean, actually, let me just take this off. So can you start hearing the wind more now? Yeah? So there you go. That just shows how effective this little wind muff is. So now I'm on the Lav Mic, which I've clipped here to my t-shirt. And this, we did a quick test before actually filming this section. The wind is insane. And you can really hear it, right? I mean, it's giving you like just wind, just noise, just pure wind. So, to be honest, if I was out, I would definitely get like a wind muff for these Lavs. You don't get one in the box, which is a shame. And in a way, it kind of makes the transmitter itself better to use as a microphone because at least you get the wind muff with it. The one good thing about this set is it does actually come with 2 transmitters, so you can have 2 people talking in a conversation. And what I really like about this set is you can actually set it to stereo so that one person's audio will record on one track and the other person will record on another track. And that's really handy. So if one person talks over the other, then you can cut it in the edit. Whereas other wireless microphones like this, where you get 2 transmitters, it usually combines the audio to one track, which to be honest is a nightmare for editing, because if you have one person making weird noises, or let's just say, I don't know, they interrupt someone else, you can't really edit that very cleanly. So let's test now how we can actually play around with the audio with 2 of these transmitters. Okay, so now I brought Tyler in. Hello. And he's got one microphone on around his neck. We're not using the Lavs, we're using the built-in microphones because 1, they sound better, and 2, obviously we have the wind muffs, whereas we don't with the Lavs. And the point I was trying to make a second ago about how you can have one audio playing and one cut. So if Tyler, if I start to walk backwards and I start talking, you talk as well.
Sure.
Just start talking some random stuff,
so
anything you want.
Walking back, I'm going to be talking, I'm going to be looking towards the camera.
So what I can do is I can just cut Tyler off completely. And now all you can hear is me, hopefully. And that's a really handy feature because, keep talking Tyler, because if you have 2 people in a shot and you want to have like an interview or something and you want to cut the other person out, you can. And now you should be able to just hear me, which I think is a brilliant feature, because if you do have one person talking over the top of the other and you want to edit them together without having people overlapping and just that whole editing nightmare, then you can do that with this microphone set. And that's probably what sets this apart from a lot of others on the market. So before I wrap up, I'm going to quickly test how the microphone sounds plugged into the Samsung S22 Plus. So right now I'm using the inbuilt microphone on the Samsung S22 Plus, which is a very good microphone, but obviously it's going to pick up probably a lot of this wind noise, especially if I turn like this and it's picking up a lot of wind. So how does this sound? This is Samsung's built-in mic on the front-facing camera. So this is now with the Boya microphone plugged into the Samsung S22 Plus. I'm using the transmitter microphone, not the Lav mic, because I think this sounds better, especially with the wind muff anyway. So there should be a pretty significant difference between the Samsung S22 Plus built-in microphone and this. Let me know, which one do you think sounds better? So as you can hear, the S2 kit performs really well. The audio quality is great. One feature I love is the fact that when you record 2 people, you can actually have them on separate tracks. That's going to make editing a lot easier. Now when I did these tests, it was super windy, as you could tell from my hair blowing all over the place, and the wind muffs did a great job of removing that wind noise. Now when testing these, I didn't really notice any issues with the audio at all, or the kit in general, so I'd be more than happy to use this kit in a casual or professional environment. My one main criticism of this kit is the fact that the OLED screen is really hard to see in daylight. I was really struggling to see any of the settings that I had when I was outdoors. It meant a lot of sort of covering up the unit, trying to see the screen, which really didn't even help that much. In bright daylight, you're gonna struggle with this kit. What I found is that I tend to just kind of set it and forget it. You know, I know my general audio levels and the volume that I speak at, so I don't really have to fiddle around too much. And if I do, I can just make some very easy changes with the plus and minus buttons on the side of the units. One feature I wish this kit did have was something like the Rode Wireless Go 2, where the transmitter has an SD card input and it actually records to that as well as sending to the receiver. So if you do lose signal for whatever reason, it's backed up on an SD card. This is a feature though that you do pay a premium for. The Rode Wireless 2 kit is a lot more expensive than this one, but if you need a feature like that, then you may need to look at that kit rather than getting something like this. That being said, with up to 100 meters of range, I don't think you're going to have many issues with audio dropping out unless you're in like a super populated area with lots of interference. You'll also notice that I did a test on my Samsung S22 Plus and this kit worked perfectly. It was just plug and play and the camera app automatically detected the microphone, and as you can tell it made a huge improvement to my Samsung S22 Plus recording. And that's pretty much all I have to say about this kit. I mean, it performed really well. You heard the audio test for yourself. I've been using this microphone for the entire video. How do you think it sounds? Let me know down in the comments. I think I can easily recommend this kit based on my experience using it. If you do need something a bit more advanced, obviously shop around and see what's out there, but I think for most people, this kit will be ideal. And that's it. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to leave a like. It really helps out my channel. If you want to see more from me, subscribe, hit that bell icon, all that good stuff, and hopefully I'll see you in the next one.